Welcome to episode 23 of Out of Bounds, a podcast where I give my social commentary on different topics in today's society. I'm your host, Terry, and it's been a while. I know it's been a while. Been, busy getting educated and stuff. But we at the end of the year, everything's done. So I'm not going to make any promises, but I'm going to push to get an episode out each day this week, because there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. Just haven't had time, and when I've had time, it's always late at night. And so, yeah. Anyway, we're back here now. So today, talking about validation. This is something that I've wanted to talk about for a while, and this is like most times, it's going to be informal. I think there's a lot of probably research and stats I could bring in to back this up, but I'm just kind of talking about my personal feelings. And to me, validation is one of the essential truths, and I would have to sit down and write how many essential truths I think there are. But some of the things we talk about are going to run throughout every episode because they're just essential truths of being human. And so validation is one of those things. And if you think about, I would argue, if you think about almost any issue that we see out there in society today, it does stem back in some way to validation. So what is validation? Because we know the word, but people, I don't think, actually think about it. When you really think about what it means to be validated. So if let's just say something simple. Let's say you got a car. You say, hey, I bought a car, brand new car. Everybody come look at this car. It was, worth $1 million. And then people like, nah, that's not true. And you're like, what are you talking about? This is one of the rarest cars. It costs $1 million. And just everybody you talk to just said, no, that's not true. And you brought in the guy that you bought it from. He said, nah, that's not worth $1 million. No, he didn't pay me $1 million. Just everyone disagreed with you. And how would you then prove that you're correct? That's what validation is. Or let's say you're in that situation and then, what's his name? I don't know race cars, but just say a famous racer came in and was like, nah, that's $1 million car. And then everybody was like, oh, okay, yeah, it is $1 million car. That's validation. I mean, we see it in everything. One of the big topics that I like to talk about is college. And that's all about validation, where a lot of people have that debate that piece of paper now validates, my ability as a person or as a worker. And the opposite side, where people say, I don't need a piece of paper to validate that I'm fit to do this job. But that's how the world operates. So it stems from everything. And I think about those experiments, the Ash experiments. If you've never seen these, very interesting experiments. And it's not validation. I forgot, I think it's conformity or something like that, which conforming to what other people think is in a sense tied to validation. So one of the experiments, I saw this video when I was in high school. This is the one that got me. They had one guy that was being monitored, like in a group. This was the one that was being tested. Everybody else in the group was actors that knew about the experiment. And so they just did a simple test. They had these sticks that were all different sizes, like these little, like skewers, little bamboo sticks. And they just said, okay, all we're going to do is simply ask different questions about the sticks, and then you answer them. And so they would ask, like, which one is the longest stick? And the guy that was being experimented on pointed to the longest one, but everybody pointed to the shortest one. And so he was just looking kind of confused. And so then they'd go again, like, which one's the shortest one? Which one's the skinniest one? Blah, blah, blah. And so the actors continued to do the opposite of what the actual answer was. and they just studied this guy to see if he would eventually join in with what they did. And eventually he does. So they get back to it again, like, what's the shortest one? And he goes along with them and points at the longest one. And it's just to show you, now that's one moment, but you got to think as humans, that's true. You talk about peer pressure. You talk about conforming to what other people do. You talk about herd mentality. That is human nature to find validation, because we come into this world, like I talked about with parenting. You come into this world, you don't know anything. You don't know anything. You come into this world, you receive all this information, and you just try to make sense of that information. And so in this situation where you say, this is the longest stick, clearly, like there's no debate about it, but everybody else is disagreeing with you. And so then what leads to you conforming is there's a lack of validation. And so since what you know to be true is not being validated, then you start to turn and go towards what everybody else is saying. And so that's a powerful tool. And you talking about a simple experiment of looking at sticks. You think about, you push that out into our world today where there's social media and there's access to everybody's opinions, and you can start to see how validation plays a part in your life. And so I never really argue that validation is a bad thing, because it's human nature. Again, we have to make sense of the world to find out what's true to us, and we live by what we believe is true. We believe we believe the truth is, if I jump off a tall building, gravity's going to pull me down and I'm going to hit the ground and die. I'm not going to float. And so we have to operate that way, where we're not jumping off tall buildings. Now that is validated through, testing it and having the history and experiments to back it up and all that. And then that's validated, but it's our human nature to discover the truth. And so my thing that I always argue is not that validation is bad. My thing is, you have to recognize as humans that validation is important. And I think this plays differently. I know it plays differently as individuals, but as a bigger branch, I think it plays differently in culture. It plays differently between gender and everything else, because we all know one of the most famous sayings in America, especially, that I hate. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. And we all, as you grow up, hopefully, we all understand that as soon as someone has to let you know verbally to confirm that they don't care, that means they actually care. But that's that defense mechanism that happens to us as humans, where we want to say, I don't care, because to care, to be involved, to have, some type of connection with it means that you're vulnerable and that you can be hurt. And that's why they call it a defense mechanism, because if I love you, I'm in love with you, and I care about everything you do and say, then if you could easily do anything that'll make me feel bad. But if you a random person on the street that I don't know, well, I don't care what you do, because I don't know you. I literally don't care. And so some people try to switch that, as a defense mechanism, because it's like, clearly you involved with this person. But when you get defensive, then it's, oh, I don't care. Oh, I don't care. Now you're a stranger. Now you have no control over me. And, people feel vulnerable. So that's a defense mechanism. But anyway, I don't care is the biggest fallacy, I think, that humans tend to tell ourselves, because you do care. Not about everything, but you do care. And so understanding validation means something. So when people say, I don't care what such and such thinks, I don't care what they think, I don't care what they say, oh, I don't care if people don't like this, oh, I don't care, like that allows you to then cut the conversation off and never dive deeper into what actually affects you and what you do care about, because you just shut it down. Like, I don't care. I'm just out here, living my life, and I don't only care about positive things that affect me. The negative things that affect me, I just don't care about them. And so I would argue, as I said, the first step is to accept and understand that validation plays a big role, and that you do care to look around and to be validated by other people. And what ways or what areas do you care more? Cause again, it's not going to be the same for everybody. And as I said, it'll be different. It might be something you self-conscious about. I don't know. So let's say a lot of people self-conscious about their body. That's a big thing on social media. And so they're like, even if they are, well, it's subjective. So, but let's just say they're sexy and they don't believe they're sexy. And so they might be self-conscious about putting, images of their body online and whatever. But, when people start liking it and commenting and giving all that, then it's like, okay, I'm more sensitive. Or if they get negative comments, they're more sensitive to that. But let's say they are a writer and they love their writing. Like, I know this writing is good because I like it. And that's all it's for. Then they're not going to be as sensitive about people validating their writing because they validate their writing. And that's what you got to find out. There's going to be the external and the internal validation or self-validation. But you got to find out the areas that affect what. And I would say at the end of the day, my argument is humans have to move towards self-validation, because when you continue to have external validation, that's when you get influenced by external factors. And so if you are looking for other people to tell you that your outfits or your dress, or your wardrobe or whatever is fashionable, and you look to other people online to click a thumbs up, a like, or a retweet or whatever, and give you comments, and that's what gives you the validation that this is a fashionable, wardrobe, then you're going to be held to the different standards and trends of those people that you're looking to validate you. And so even if you're like, oh, that's ugly, you are validated by what they think. And so if they think it's the new hot thing, then the only way you're going to have a fashionable wardrobe is if you wear what they think is the new hot thing. On the flip side, like I said, much with the writing, if you are self-validated, truly self-validated, not saying, oh, I don't care. I only care about my opinion. But if you truly only care about your opinion, you truly find value in what you think about it, then it's going to be a lot harder to be influenced by the external factors. So that's why I think it's very important for people to evaluate and see what influences what for them. And for me, again, it starts with accepting that validation is powerful and it's present. And then that's the only way you can start recognizing it. Because right now you can just say, I don't really care. Again, I don't care. And that shuts the conversation down. But if you say, okay, yeah, I do look to be validated, then you can start recognizing all the areas that you are, looking for validation. And that was my journey. I definitely feel like I'm at a place where I am mostly self-validated. And that is, that's evidenced by the decisions I make with my money and my time, which always money and time shows you where people's values are. And so those are evidenced by those decisions. There's a lot of times, a lot of things that people want you to do or that they think is best to do. And I know what's best for me because I take that time to know myself and to evaluate myself. And then I make those decisions. And so funny enough, and I won't say no names, but it was, I was talking to a guy. We were with some, friends, and he was, I was standing next to the garbage or something. And he came over like, spitting out something. I'm like, oh, what's going on? I was like, you sick? And he was like, no, I just, took some tequila shots. I hate tequila. It always does that to me. Makes me like, gag reflex. And so I said, well, why did you drink the tequila then? And he kind of didn't have an answer. And so and he's a lot younger. Again, I'm on a college campus now. He's a lot younger. So I'm just like, you getting ready to graduate, man. You gotta, you about to become a grown man now. And not to, belittle or anybody, but that kind of captures this point that in that moment, okay, I don't like this. I wouldn't pay for tequila shots. I don't like tequila. But when you're younger, we know that as peer pressure, which is part of validation, because the only reason people have peer pressure on you is because you allow them to tell you what's cool, to certify and validate what's cool or acceptable in that moment. Hey, in this moment, we're all taking tequila shots. That's what bros do. And you say, I don't like tequila, but that's where the validation's coming in. Now, and I told him, as you grow up and you get older, definitely, hopefully you lose that, because you like, hey, you realize you earn your money, you earn your free time, and you start to spend it the way you want with less peer pressure, because you understand what is best for you. And so I think, again, my journey was that, just really, accepting validation. Cause I wasn't necessarily a person to say, I don't care. Cause I knew I cared about things, and I didn't necessarily use it as a defense mechanism. But what I was as a person, and I think it's more of my Aries in me, I was as a person like, I know best. And so whenever things would happen, I would just be like, no, it happened because of me. I had a very internal locus of control, as they say. And so I never believed that outside forces influence me. I'm always like, things happen because of me or my choices. And so having too much of an internal locus of control, you become blind to the ways that the world affects you. And so for me, I never thought about validation, because I'm like, I don't care. Like, I literally don't care about what other people do, because that doesn't change what I do. And it wasn't until I accepted, yes, validation is a thing. That's when I started to realize all the areas where validation was influencing me. And then that's when I started to rework and, change the way I thought, because the only way to do it is to question, well, why? Why do you feel, and I always say, why is the important word, always the most important question. You continue to ask that why question. You dig down into how you arrive to think that way. That's the only way you can change the way you think. And so, yeah, for me, I started to understand, like, if I'm getting frustrated about something because someone didn't do something for me, or do something, that they said they were going to do, or if I didn't get something that I thought I should, I earned or deserved, or if someone didn't do something online. And those are the only ways you start to really break down and say, oh, okay, I feel this way because I obviously wanted them to do this. This was important to me because it makes me feel this way. And I feel this way because that makes me feel validated in that fact. And so you have to really change your mind to work that way. And I think that's beneficial for us as a society, because again, once you are looking to other people to validate you in different areas, you then give up the control to those other people. And then their decisions ultimately affect how you feel or affect your decisions. And so we could talk about this for a long time, but I'll wrap it up there. Yeah, it's a very interesting conversation. It's a big conversation. And I can see myself tying this into, future episodes. But again, I'm going to try to get one out, every day of this week. So be looking out for that. So anyway, go to the comment section. Let me know what you think about this topic. Share it around, get the conversation started. And until next episode.